Find the customer's need and satisfy it. The battle cry of American business in the 1990s. In the 1890s, of course, it was simply the way we went about our business. Sometimes we have to go backwards to catch up to ourselves. Now, one of the reasons why business is trying so hard to be nice to you and me is because of all the competition they're up against these days. It's nothing new. My cousin, Jedediah, learned all about competition the hard way. Jedediah, he took it upon himself to open a general store in town, thinking rightly that any town that didn't have a general store could use one. Danged if he wasn't right. Customers came from all over the country. But sure enough, pretty soon some other fella come along and tried to get some of that business for himself. Now, that's all well and good for the customers because they get to pick and choose between them. Not only that, in the wooing of customers, competitors would often lower some prices and raise some expectations. Well, sir, the next thing you know, others come along. And seeing how those two are fighting over customers, they get the idea there's something worth fighting for. Pretty soon, poor Jedediah's fighting tooth and nail just to keep what customers he's got left. But to make a go of it, he's got to get and keep the largest share of customers. Now, how does someone get and keep the most customers? Well, what does it take to make a steady customer out of you? Sure. Well, I thought so. Now, I understand that the New York Telephone Company has competition. Serious competition. Frankly, I'm more than a little surprised. You see, Mr. Alexander Graham Bell was a personal friend of mine, and he offered me an opportunity to invest in his invention here. Oh, I turned him down. I didn't think it'd amount to anything. But just look at all the enterprises that are after, and I might add, getting your customers. Quite a bunch. Obviously, the one who's going to walk away with the most customers is the one who satisfies the most customers. The one who gives a on-time, get it right the first time, and thank you for calling, ma'am service everybody wants. But you know all that. Now, what you may not know is that providing that kind of service could take a little more doing than it used to.
Hola.
Assalamu alaikum.
Ni hao.
Namaste.
안녕하세요.
Merhaba.
Bonjour.
Fascinating, isn't it? I'm told that by the year 2000, the majority of New Yorkers will be members of minority groups. The New York melting pot is already brimming over with many languages and cultures. Now, language differences naturally will call for a bit more patience on the part of those providing service to all these new New Yorkers, but then there are those subtle differences in the way we think about the same thing.
What we hope to be understood is if we can get more patience from the American people and to give us enough time to finish our the things we want to express.
We are used to, when we do our business transactions, in seeing a person. We believe in having a conversation with somebody.
In India, we give more respect to ladies and to the old people. Here it is totally different.
We find this common mistake in wanting to believe that a person, because know 5 words, sometimes they know nice, sometimes they know okay, fine, good morning, is pretty much, we want to believe that that person is very much proficient in English.
People on the other side speak very fluently and very fast. Say, hello, New York telephone, may I help you? And I feel like I have to speak as fast as she or he does. Otherwise, they would ignore me.
Now, I've done a fair amount of world travel in my time, And it was very instructive to see how my everyday, ordinary American behavior struck so many others as being peculiar. And when people have different ways of doing or thinking about things, there's opportunity for confusion.
The elderly, as well as many adults, have varying degrees of comprehension in terms of concepts or ideas. When a representative is dealing with them or trying to make an explanation about a problem or a situation, the more succinct and clear the answer is, the better it is for them to understand what it is and how it will be dealt with and who will deal with it.
What we find in our work is that our consumers are not anxious because of their disabilities. They're anxious because of something that is happening to them right then and there. If I'm a blind person using my computer with speech, I may be using the phone to get a part that I need or to get a person from a computer company to come out and repair something. If I have a mobility impairment, I need you to help me on the phone to get my phone working because I may be using the phone to get food delivered or because my home attendant is late or because my wheelchair needs repair. You should know that for many of us with disabilities, the phone is extremely important. It's not just an inconvenience if the phone isn't working or if a service is not being provided. You need to know that the telephone is vital for us.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't hear you come back. I'm afraid my ears ain't what they used to be. You know, sometimes in exchange for letting you hang around a little longer, the good Lord takes away a little bit of this and some of that. And sometimes this fact can make us senior citizens a little more difficult to deal with. Hello, operator.
Good morning, New York Telephone, Mrs. Macy. How can I help you?
Well, that's what I'm calling to find out.
I'll be glad to help you if I can. What seems to be the trouble, sir?
Well, I'm having trouble hearing through this thing, and I figure the problem must be at your end, because I sound perfectly fine at this end, and I warn you, I'm not about to pay full price for something that don't work full well.
I can understand how frustrating it can be not being sure you're hearing everything you should. Am I coming through any better now, sir?
Oh, yes, ma'am. That's much better, thank you.
Sir, you might consider adding an amplifier to your phone to avoid having this problem again.
Well, what's an amplifier?
It's a device that'll make all your incoming calls sound louder.
You giving those away free, are you?
No, sir, there's a small monthly fee.
Well, thank you very much for the suggestion, but I can just about afford the volume you're giving me now.
I understand, sir. May I suggest, then, if you have difficulty in the future, that you ask your caller to speak up a bit?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Is there anything else I can help you with today?
Not a thing, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, maybe I was a bit nasty there, but it's very frustrating when the faculties you've relied on for so many years start becoming less trustworthy. It was nice of her to be so sympathetic. I hope somebody treats her that well when she needs it. Now, sometimes us old folks also have problems with these newfangled electronic gadgets and G-jobs. It's not that we're stupid, mind you. It's just that we've been here longer than they have, and we need to be properly introduced. And I'll wager there are moments when you feel like a stranger in your own time. Well, I guess you know what I'm up to here. I'm simply trying to point out some of the factors that could make the job of providing quality service a little more challenging. And since I personally cannot abide people who are quick on problems and slow on solutions, I can think of 3 ways that could make life more easy for you and for me as a customer. First, I really appreciate someone who listens to me and hears what I'm trying to say.
Sometimes my customers don't speak English well, but I take the time to listen to them so that I can explain to them all the options they have and they can get the proper service.
That's the idea. Then, if a body has to keep me waiting, and While something gets done, I'd appreciate being told what's going on.
I receive calls from customers in regards to time material charges. These customers can't see what I'm doing. Sometimes it's necessary I put them on hold while I look up their account in the computer. However, I tell the customers first what I'm going to do, and then when I return, I thank them for waiting.
Right. Lastly, I feel good about the person and the company when I get the feeling somebody's thinking about my problems.
I try to keep my appointments because not only are the customers paying for this visit, but they're also losing time from their jobs.
Well, from what I've seen, you're more than up to the challenge.
Because people are poor does not mean they should receive anything less in the way of service.
I'll give the type of service that I would expect someone to give to me.
If you go into a call grouchy, you get grouchiness right back. That's why I'm nice to my customers. I want them to be nice to me.
It's good to remember that your attitude in receiving a call is reciprocated at the other end. If you approach a call with a negative attitude, you're only going to get a negative response.
One of the common problems we have with elderly customers is that they haven't had much contact with the telephone company since divestiture. So we like to take a little extra time explaining to them who's responsible for what and how their service is affected.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I'm satisfied.